You know, when I was in my 20s, I worked as an offset printer. Actually, I worked in pre-press, I worked in the bindery, I ran duplicators in a larger format press, and I did production scheduling, and I actually worked the front counter and did customer service. There were roughly 10 to 15 of us at this collectively run movement print shop during the 6 or 7 years when I worked there. We were affiliated with the Graphic Communications International Union, and I mention that because it's no small feat to be a collective recognized by a union. The truth is, I loved everything about that work. The smell of pallets of paper when I fanned them before loading them into the feeder, or that kind of gratifying pull on the ink knife handle as I mixed colors together. And most folks haven't seen this, but to help form a crisp final fold to a sheet that is being folded in what they call double right angle, that's in half, and then half again perpendicular to the first fold, and then half again perpendicular to the second fold. To make sure to keep that fold, that final fold, from waving because of all those layers that are being folded, you trail a thin bead of water as a score. They call it a water score across the length of the parent sheet while it's traveling down a table at 2,000 sheets per hour from the pile of paper that is being fed into the folder. I'm trying to give you the sense that it is intricate and yet simple work. And with each digital magazine I enjoy today, I wrote, I think my hands, but I know my hands ache for the sense that came from every step of making those magazines in paper. As a collective, we ran our business through monthly collective meetings, and all decisions in those meetings were arrived at through consensus. From a distance, I'm aware from a distance, consensual decision-making may seem like the process most likely to engage everyone in all decisions. And for me, as a young man in that moment, the consensual decision-making process was really the most sacred part of our work together. But in reality, it wasn't that sacred for everyone. We held meetings after a workday, and after a few disjointed episodes, we had to work through an agreement with each other to not bring beer to the meetings. At another time, some folks seemed really pleased to extend discussions beyond what seemed to be productive. And we finally had to agree to pay straight time for the meetings rather than an overtime rate of time and a half. The most profound moment of our consensual process was when someone would stand aside. This generally happened after 3 or 4 back and forths in discussion of a single question. I'm sure you all understand those discussions where a proposal is offered and a counter to that proposal is given in response, and then a counter to that counter is then shared, and then again, a counter to the counter to the counter of the proposal is then lifted up. There's probably an analysis somewhere that correlates the variable of diminishing engagement across a group with each successive counter statement. When in the course of a long discussion, someone would declare that they would stand aside, they were stating their disagreement with the proposal, and they were declaring their commitment to move forward with the group in face of their own disagreement. I always thought its profundity came in the prioritization of the whole by that one person. I'm pretty sure it will come as no surprise to many of you that I offered many counters to counters to counters, and at times I stood aside. It's probably a memory that has benefited through time, but I don't think I felt it was a loss. I think I felt standing aside liberated a decision. And we did walk forward together after making it. 7 o'clock in the morning, we were drinking coffee together and moving on to the next day's work. Like the work we loved doing every day, our decision making really was intricate and simple. For the last couple months, I've been recalling my memory of standing aside and then walking forward together after a decision was made, because I'm aware of the many decisions facing KUUF. And to be clear, there are many co-occurring decisions facing the fellowship. First, there's the decision on what's to be the future vision of ministry in our fellowship. And this question is even split into two parallel tracks, one focusing on the next 15 months or so, and the second one targeting getting us ready for our longer term ministry options. We're also facing decisions on how and when to regather in person together. As Ellen mentioned again today, that group is getting together to help sort out some of those decisions. And there's the unexpected opportunities made available through the wonderfully generous gift from donation from Susan Hooker. What will we do with her gift? The options are as diverse as saving the principal and applying the interest earned to help pay for a full-time minister, to supporting a refugee family, to buying a building for ours and the community's use. And there will be many others. We're also just beginning to form a social justice ministry in the fellowship. We have key task forces already at work, but there are plenty of decisions to be made about how and when we form that ministry. And not to slight anything, but there's the typical April decision we all make around our annual canvas, and that will be a focus in the coming weeks. There's more, but that is a wonderful list of upcoming decisions, and we are flat out busy. Preparing for and making these decisions through Zoom meetings has also been its own challenge. How can we best involve as many people as possible in the discussions that lead up to these decisions? I think for many, it feels more comfortable to meet in person for those discussions. But I have seen us respond resourcefully to using Zoom over these past 12 months, and I believe we will be successful managing our decision through Zoom as long as we have to. I am actually most interested in this brief talk in how we approach decisions. Transparency and a democratic process as our desired approaches. These ideas are core to our sense of Unitarian Universalism and also specifically part of our congregational covenant. I like to share directly from our covenant. I regularly refer to it, but part of what makes it a living document for us is that we lift it up. We refer to it as we live our lives together. So part of our covenant reads, we strive to listen carefully to each other, seeking both to understand and be understood. We strive to challenge ourselves and each other to grow and be faithful to the truth we find within. We strive to keep our individual needs in balance with the health and vitality of the community as a whole, and we strive to be open, courteous, and forgiving with each other, suspend judgment of those with whom we disagree, and offer each other kindness and encouragement. Powerful words. I think they deserve to be lifted up every now and then. And I want you to know that I go to almost every committee meeting in this fellowship. And I have never heard anyone suggest we be less than transparent or we choose an undemocratic path. At the same time, I've never heard anyone say, I'm coming to this meeting ready to make the group needs a priority over my own. I think we all walk into each KUUF discussion with the democratic and transparent as an essential elements of good decision making. And I've been wondering, though, as quickly as we call up the terms transparency and democratic, do we also call up keeping our individual needs in balance with the health and vitality of the community as a whole? Are we prepared to liberate decisions by standing aside? Are we ready to walk alongside a decision that we disagree with? 2 weeks ago, I started with an idea for this talk, and I even wrote an introduction in the digest that used the term leadership. Decision-making and leaderships are wonderfully connected for me. I could write about challenges groups have with leadership, the tensions that arise there, and the opportunities good leadership offers when an organization tries to be agile and relevant in a changing environment. And as I wrote some of that leadership talk in these past couple of weeks, I realized KUUF's decisions are queued up like tankers on either side of the Suez Canal right now. We don't need leadership to keep us relevant. There's a cavalcade of relevance built into our next decisions. Ministry, regathering, living up to our mission when deciding how to use Susan's donation, the social justice ministry, the canvas, those are brimming with built-in relevance. We have a wonderfully active board of trustees and several established and effective committees. Each of these provide a structure for being transparent and democratic. As I wrote, I found the necessary leadership was in the people and structures we have in place. I began to recognize that we need to liberate the coming decisions with our willingness to focus on the group rather than primarily on ourselves. This is my offering to you. As we look to the coming months and the flurry of decisions we'll be making, let's come into each discussion seeking to both understand and to be understood. And let's be open, courteous, and forgiving with each other. Suspend judgment of those with whom we disagree and offer each other kindness and encouragement. And finally, let's keep our individual needs in balance with the health and vitality of the community as a whole. I'm hopeful that adding those simple intentions will help us navigate our intricate process of decision-making over these coming months. Thank you.